All right. Today I'm with Gordon Euchler. I'm
Excellent.
trying to pronounce the name right. We're going to be talking about excitement points. I'm going to tell you how I know Gordon in a minute, but I wanted to get straight into it. So for strategists, I think excitement points are one of the most interesting ways into not only comms planning, but also creative brief opportunities.
Okay.
I would love you to explain to people what excitement points are, and if you've got any examples, would love to hear that as well, Gordon.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I mean, I have the luxury of having 156,000 examples and counting, but let's go in what it is first. It's basically, today companies can do ever more to reach out to customers, ever more touch points, media, technology, this, that, and they do. Let's face it, every company, all companies we know are investing heavily into customer centricity and to reach out to customers. But they're still human beings and they can't see all of that. And this is not just an advertising problem. This is a problem for everything a company does. So what we're looking for is not everything a company can do, but we have a search engine, a methodology for the rare moment where a company not just reaches people or interests them, but manage to excite them. That's basically an excitement point. If a company created something, out of the hundreds of companies that try to reach you with thousands of approaches, what was the one thing over the last couple of weeks that stood out for you? And I could now say this is a massively complicated, high-tech AI, whatever, but it took us 4 years to develop, to get the question and getting the data right. And it's one brutal question that we ask people, and it's simply, did you recently had contact with a company that you truly enjoyed? And they're allowed to name one. And that's it.
What are because excitement points has existed for a long time. What's like some of the best examples of brands finding an excitement point, then capitalizing on it?
Yeah. One thing that keeps on surprising us, and I wouldn't be, being German, I wouldn't be bold enough to use it as an example if it wouldn't come up again and again in our studies. It's a German telco provider, Deutsche Telekom T-Mobile, and they get mentioned a lot for evoking the feeling of friendship, which is great in itself. I'm not saying anyone is feeling like a friend with a brand, but they tick the box friendship in our questionnaire. And then we can look one level deeper, because every person we interview, we also ask at which touch point did you had that feeling. And we can see clearly, of course, the feeling of friendship is evoked in contact with an employee, because friendship is a human thing. But they also manage to evoke friendship with their chatbot. So they have a chatbot that evokes the feeling of friendship, which I think is amazing, brilliant, and should make everyone else think how to use a chatbot to move from a very cold, efficiency-driven thing to a opportunity to get people happy, closer to the brand, and make them long-term customers. That's one example. And another example I keep on loving is from Amazon, because Amazon, at least from what I see, they don't talk about many of the things they're doing. And what we saw in our study again and again, they get mentioned a lot for their homepage. Not because it's beautiful, it probably isn't, but you pick a product, pick a price, pick a delivery method, a delivery time, and then you hit pay. And after you've given Amazon everything you think Amazon wants from you, i.e. your money, they give to up to 7% of the people a discount. Not before, but after they paid. And all of a sudden, the slightly sleazy discount turns, at least emotionally, into a gift. Again, congratulations, Amazon. Really nice thing to do. And they've been doing it for more than a week, so I assume it's profitable. But it makes you think for every other brand that sells online. So that kind of stuff we discover. And it makes me personally also really happy, because it feels like that's good stuff.
What was the T-Mobile like? Because I've seen so many bots it's like, what stands out about the T-Mobile bot? Like, I'm sure you've gone and done the research now. What's the difference between that and the horrendous bots I usually deal with?
Like, I don't know the whole technology and everything behind it, but what pops up in our research, because we asked people then, please describe that interaction with the company. And it's very often the language and a certain phrase that the bot is using, that it's not treating them like, shut it, I need to route you through. But the classic example, this is not necessarily from the T-Mobile bot, but we saw it with another bot, is the classic situation is you call a company and it goes like, okay, it's 7 minutes, 4 people in front of you. Yeah. And then people try to route these people in the waiting line into the bot. So they change the announcement to 7 minutes, 4 people in front of you. You can also talk to the bot. Would you? Probably not. So the stroke of genius was 7 minutes, 4 people in front of you. You can also talk to the bot, without losing your place in the queue. So it's that kind of thing that often makes a huge difference. And you don't need it in every single sentence that bot is saying, but doing it once here, once there, finding one of those, I hats off to whoever wrote that sentence.
It's so interesting because we're talking about such micro little interactions.
Sometimes, yes.
But have phenomenal, like a massive impact, especially if you're thinking like, if you're asking someone what's the best brand to interaction and they're talking about a T-Mobile bot, that's that's golden, like especially when you think of everything they do. So with, I'm interested in knowing your audience with strategists. So mainly you've been on the strategy side and we'll talk about that in a minute. But for strategists who are in their job, we often get briefs that are kind of handed to us, and they're saying, "Here, you're doing TV, and give us a radio spot." How do we get them to then go, "Hey, actually, we want to do excitement points and talk about bots"? How do we make that leap to the client, or is strategist not who's going to bring that up?
No, of course. I mean, we're also obviously talking directly to clients, but the brief is a good opportunity. I mean, and from my experience, the only way to have that conversation is data. I mean, unless you're David Droga or, I don't know, John Haggerty, where you can say, oh, I believe differently, or Julian Cole, I have to use data, and we got them. And then we can very simply, when someone says, yes, I had contact with a company that I truly enjoyed, we ask at which touch point did you have that contact? So we can tell clients what are the touch points in your industry to excite people. And we can also show you where your brand is overperforming on these top 5 relevant touch points, where it's underperforming. And then you can decide, look, we want to do our top strength even stronger, or the other way around. It's simple.
So it almost is like an audit to begin with. They're kind of like, okay, let's do an audit of all your touch points. Because for me, back in my comms planning days, I could imagine, I start off at a client engagement or start of the year, perfect timing right now, where we go, hey, let's do a review. I remember on PlayStation we did this. We reviewed every single touch point in PlayStation, which, massive, and tried to like show all the channels and all it working together. The biggest problem that I had, and the reason I really love where you're taking this, is you get to the end of that consumer journey workshop and you've got 150 touch points, and you're like, well, the client's sitting there and we're like, this looks great, fantastic, we've mapped it all out, but we don't have the time to do all this. And I love that about these excitement points, where it's just like, no. And this is the great thing about strategy. We reduce all the clutter, focus on the key few. Let's do these kind of 4 points. So that could be.
I think so, yes. And also you flipping it around. I'm pretty sure it was only half enjoyable to look into all these 800 touch points and finding them, and probably have the feeling you missed 200 more. What we do is we flip it around. It's not what the company is providing, but we ask people, where did you have contact with the company? And there you see touch points that the company is not even planning.
Yeah.
One of my loveliest example, it's actually from Germany. It's IKEA. I mean, the people who love IKEA, not me, because I get stressed, but they love it because you know the feeling. You go in there and you come out with much more than you planned. So it's massive inspiration.
Yeah.
And so we had a couple of people who meant Germans nonetheless, who said, well, like, we love getting inspired. So we go there early Saturday in the morning when it's still empty. And what do you do on a Saturday morning? Well, we'll have a coffee. That's what you do. And obviously Saturday morning you have coffee in bed. And we went further and then like, wait, coffee in bed? Okay. In IKEA. So there were Germans having coffee in bed in IKEA. And I absolutely loved it. If I would have brought that to that Touchpoint workshop on my own opinion, they would likely told me to F off.
Yeah.
But this way is like, okay, good. There is an opportunity here. And now we have the conversation, and we're working with someone in China, and they were like, so everyone is lying down here in the beds in IKEA and having drinks. And I'm like, wow. So that kind of stuff is super fun, exciting, and clients value it because it's database. So that's where we can easily help. So if a pitch comes up, you know the category, you know the brand, we can tell you these are the top 5 touch points, and we can also tie the emotions to it. Which emotion at which touch point to do.
Are you finding this work, because you've now set up this amazing company, are you finding that the work's coming through user experience or customer experience people? Like, is that a different subset to, you know, you came from creative agency, we were both at BBDO, creative agency strategists. Are you seeing these UX and customer experience, or is it the same type of strategist? Or even in probably client side?
I mostly know client side, and client side is actually, the best ones are very similar because they don't care whether it's marketing, advertising, or customer experience. They care about, okay, that's the distance between the company and the people's, how to close that distance. What can we do? And then they do it. Agency side as well as client side, the more you think in, oh, I do the 30-second ads, or, oh, I only do the digital, TV is dead. UX doesn't need advertising, and then it's dirty. That's where, I think that's only where the problems start. It's keep it easy, but what can we do to reach people? All good?
Yeah, the thing is that's what we often got the knock when I was at BBDO, and I'm sure it was very similar experience for you. You're just the TV ad agency, and that box would always limit us. But my job doing comms finding was like, no, we got to show we can do more than that. We can do more integrated work. So I ask you a question I'd love to hear the answer from you. If you go back, you've got all this amazing information now about excitement points. If you went back to being a strategist, say at the very beginning of your career, 2 years into your career, what would you do now, knowing what you know about excitement points? How would you act differently or with that information?
I would start generating my own data from day one. I think that's, with hindsight, that's the biggest key. Because we've been keep on publishing this. We kept on generating data. We didn't have the plan when we started this where it is now. But we had these data to toy around with. And you start discovering things, and that leads us to change the data. So, and because the core question is super simple. All we did is we flipped the perspective and generated month after month for publication data. And all of a sudden you sit there and like, so there must be somewhere else who has that kind of data. There must actually know. And here we are.
Yeah, amazing. So I'd love to hear your journey. So we both knew each other from BBDO. Gordon was head of strategy in BBO Germany. And I was in the New York office. We met at a global offsite. And so that was the last time we met in person or face to face. But I would love to hear how you've gone from that to now founding a company, because everyone's excited about what does life look like after a career in agency strategy. So I'd love to hear your journey.
Yeah. I mean, probably not a surprise. No plan. There was no agenda since 10 years how to do this. I stumbled into it like probably everyone else. But I have the luxury of a friend of mine he's a former investment banker. He has a venture fund. And when we started developing this product further and having the data, and he's like, and he saw the publications partially in the Wall Street Journal and stuff, and he's like, dude, you have to set up a company with it. And I'm like, yeah, great. I'm going to do an amazing consultancy on innovation. He's like, nope. Like for setting up a consultancy or an agency, you'll get zero investment because selling human time doesn't scale. I'm not saying he's right. I mean, look at Deloitte. That's scale for you. But that was a massive push because it made us decide, okay, we're doing a data product that automatically generates these excitement points. And that made the jump for me because then I can go out into the market. And I was always scared of setting up the, 870,000 agency and selling my brain because I don't trust my brain. So I think having that kind of methodology, the data, that felt like, okay, that's it. That's possible.
Yeah. I love the creativity around the business model because we've all seen agencies, and I was the same. I aspired to start a creative agency all through my career. That's what I thought I was going to do. Yeah. And then I read this amazing book. Someone asked, what's the last book you read in advertising? And to me, it was a book by Rick Webb, who started the Barbarian Group, and he talked about taking Barbarian Group all the way through to a sale, and it sounded horrendous. I read it and I was like, no, that's it. That life's not for me. And that turned me off starting an agency. But then I think, as you said, kind of happy luck or like looking around, and I'd done a bit of teaching before, so it kind of made sense for strategy finishing school. But you're right, you stumble into it, but hopefully you've done something in the past to get you there. So thank you so much. Where can people find out more about Excitement Points?
I mean, easily. I spend more time than is healthy on LinkedIn, so reach out to me on LinkedIn probably. How do you say websites in English? www.spikes.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.